Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Netter's Network Thursday Things, where tonight we have a very special guest I'm so excited to bring on.
Two special guests.
It's true. Well, only one of them is named, though, in the
Yeah.
thingy. But yes, we have two very special guests. It's like, didn't mean to oversight there.
Production, yeah.
It's like, see, I'm so excited.
All
I forgot
these
what I was
moving
doing.
parts, guys. This is a peek behind the curtain for y'all.
So I'm so excited I forgot somebody. Of course, before we get started, I want to introduce my co-host, which you all know is that guy at the end of the bar, the love of my life, Troy Pacelli. How you doing tonight, sweetie? And what are you sipping on?
Va salud, welcome. Thank you so much for having me. Because we're kind of a team, and this is actually a Rockstar Energy drink, but I'm drinking it from a Collins glass because it's on brand. So
Yeah, why not? I'm just drinking a Diet Dr. Pepper because, well, why not? Before we bring in our wonderful guests, I'd like to say hello to the chat. First up was Deleted Scenes. He was in here at 8:15, so he was the first one. It's like, you beat out Lady Myst. I haven't even seen Lady Myst tonight.
That's right.
We also have Curtis Selby. Let's see, Connie Clary saying hello. Let me scroll down and hopefully my thing won't jump. Big Al saying hello to everyone. You, Sar G, I haven't seen you in a long time. Welcome.
Good to see you, my friend.
Lester San Jose Skeptic Tank. I'm so glad you're feeling better.
Yep.
JPRPH1 saying hello to everyone. Oh, there's that Netters person saying hi to, that guy at the end of the bar.
I love you too, Netter.
Let's see, I know I saw some other people's. Did I say Connie Clary? Hi to Connie Clary. Samuel Proctor. Is it just me, or does the mustache man in the poster look like Doctor Strange?
I had never noticed that before until you pointed it out. Now I can't unsee that. But yep, that's Vernon Wells.
That last call fellow saying hello back.
Hello again.
Orville Nation, hi PJ.
PJ.
How you doing, sweetie? It's like
PJ is an important, integral part of this whole story. We will get into
Yes.
that, I'm sure, this evening.
We have the real deal with Tom Konkle. How you doing, sweetie?
That's him. He's
Yes.
he is backstage right now, chomping at the bit, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I think that's everybody. So, now, let's bring in our special guests. We have tonight, backstage, not just Tom Konkle, but Lucinda Bruce. Welcome to the channel, returning guests.
Hello.
We are so excited about this film, and we want to know anything you can tell us about it.
Yeah. We've been I joked about you chomping at the bit in the backdrop, but we have been chomping at the bit for this project. And if I got nothing else out tonight, I just wanted to make sure that everyone realized, hey, this is still happening, and there's been a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that they haven't seen. So we thought maybe you might want to share some of that with all of them.
Oh, absolutely. First off, thank you both for having us back. Lucinda and I appreciate you and some of the wonderful people in your chat that you just acknowledged literally have been instrumental in moving the project
PJ
forward.
is the guy that makes it all happen.
Yes.
I was going to say, we were honored to have PJ hook us up with Alan Dean Foster, who obviously we all know, doing the novelizations of, Splinter of the Mind's Eye and Star Wars and Star Trek and Alien, blah, 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 on and on. He and I ended up doing a pass on the script together. And it was a masterclass for me, and I think Lucinda will back me up that we got coverage on the script. Coverage is where you put the script out and you get notes and feedback on it, and it went up levels of improvement and tightness on both story and character. So learning from a master like that, you sort of sit at their feet and say, okay, I'm open to, we have something to talk about with the film, I'm open to your notes, and he improved it vastly. And that is the power of what we do with these streams. I never would have met him had it not been for the two of you, because the people here care about making things and trying to carve out our own little niche. I feel like this is the future. Like, as we see Hollywood collapsing, under the weight of budgets and under the weight of making the same thing over and over again. Like I felt like I was traveling through time. I was like, wow, Planet of the Apes is out, The Fall Guy with Lee Majors, and another Mad Max. So it's 1981 again.
I know.
So, here we got this crazy idea of doing an original movie. That's a genre movie that you haven't seen before. And I know it's radical, but those of us that aren't crazy realize that this is probably the future, because we've scaled the budget to something that's doable, but also it's listening to the audience and making the audience and their enjoyment and fun the primacy of it, rather than a message or grinding through the same thing or improving it somehow. So we're just pleased to be here, and Lucinda and I both appreciate everybody that contributed to the first round when we started putting this together.
And I want to welcome Lucinda to the United States, because she's from Australia, and
if only
you're here
temporarily.
visiting. So wonderful to have you here in our time zone. But I bet you're really tired, though, from the jet lag.
A little bit, not too bad though. Like the coming here is so much better than the going home, and it's also warmer here. It's freezing cold back home at the moment, so it's winter.
Oh, that's right. It's winter there.
Yeah, so coming over here has been like, it's so lovely and it's so warm, and I just love being here, and it just, it's amazing. But I wanted to say hi to everybody that's saying hello to me in the chat. I can't log in.
Everyone's excited. So actually, Lucinda, you make a great point, that a question that I've wanted to ask all my life. When Santa visits you, is he wearing like Bermuda shorts and a Hawaiian t-shirt? I mean, just
with the didgeridoo. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And does he swap out the reindeer for, I don't know, kangaroos? Yeah, okay, there you go. That makes sense.
He rides magical shrimp.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You gotta leave out shrimp for Santa. Right.
Yeah.
No, you nailed it in one.
I actually
world.
See, now that could be your next project. That could be Christmas in Australia. There you go.
I actually already have a project in that, so.
You do?
Oh, well, I'll be looking forward to that. Then no problem.
Yeah.
In Australia, he goes up the chimney and not down.
That's
the
right,
chimney, right?
not down. We're all upside down, so.
Upside down world. Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
So I guess the big question, it's a very general question. You could help focus us. What's been happening since last we talked to you? And it was almost a year ago, wasn't it? I think so.
It feels like it was yesterday, but it probably was 6 months ago at least, wasn't it?
Yeah, 8 months. Well, it was October, I think, maybe.
When the crowdfunding ended, I suppose.
No, a bit earlier than that.
August.
August. Okay.
August.
Oh wait, no, I had you back. I had you in August, then I had you again in November.
In November.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what?
So about 6 months.
Time flies when you're having a good time, so you must be having a good time.
Well, I know you guys have been working hard, and a lot has happened, so time has really flown for you.
Things opened up. Once the strikes were over, we hit the ground running, and several things happened. We were able to, because of the crowdfunding directly, we were able to hire the particular representation, the entertainment lawyer that we wanted. And that person bought us the kind of access that we were looking for to do something of this size. And having that person on retainer allowed us to start making the steps that we needed. First off, we obviously set up the companies that became the production companies we have. We worked out all the paperwork and the things that you just have to pay for and you have to set up. The real fun part of it was he started being able to make offers and approaches to actors.
Beautiful.
And that became a real fun part because we had our sort of wish list and we would communicate every week of like, hey, how about this person and that person? And, I love casting. As a director, I think 70% of a movie is cast. I mean, don't you think that you're halfway there at least when you've got a good cast, and the right cast can save a production from just one person being wrong, one person being off can completely throw off the entire film. But if you cast it really carefully, I think the battle is just getting those people to play to their strength. So we started approaching people, and we have several people, including an A-list actress who actually won an Oscar recently, that said they want to do it. And the ball became in our court, where now we, knowing that they want to do it, we are now going back to the larger financial source and the distribution source and saying, hey, so and so wants to do it. If we can get that person secured, that will release the rest of the money. And Lucinda can address that a little bit about how that works. And then the other thing that's been really fun is, with Furiosa out and everything, we had already approached George Miller, because George Miller is obviously very close with Vernon. Vernon was in his second big film. And we wrote a passion letter. He's somebody that I actually studied Australian film when I was in college. My thesis was on Australian film, and George Miller was a huge influence. I never thought I'd have anything to do with him.
Yeah.
So we wrote this passionate letter just saying, look, is there a way you could lend yourself to this? We would never presume to have you, hands-on have to produce or do something, unless you want to. And I'd rather direct it, but if you wanted to. But the upshot of it is we did get to him through the lawyer, and so regardless of how Furiosa is doing, and I am disappointed to see that it's not doing well for a number of reasons, but in a weird way that may help us, because if he does decide to sideline some of his projects for a little while, or those are a slow burn rather than okay, we got a hit, see you kids. It may help us, because he might be inclined, if he was so kind, to go, you know what, I see some merit in it, or this interests me. So we're hoping that that's what happens. That even with the clear disappointment they probably all have, having put all that work in, and it just isn't paying the dividends, it might help us in the long run. And that's just the surface of everything that's been happening for us.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So, Lucinda, what's been going on your end?
Yeah.
Well, she had some good news. You had a film go the next step.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm supposed to say too much at this point in time, but we did get some funding for another film that I'm working on, a big kind of back home in Australia, and that's kind of going to be filming in probably August, September of this year, back home in Australia. So that's kind of exciting.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And I got it at like 4:00 this morning, so it was something lovely to wake up to, because 4:00 this morning was tomorrow evening.
Tomorrow's evening. Yeah.
Evening.
Yeah. She and I always have to do this calculation because we talk all the time, but it's like, no, are you on Tuesday? Because I'm Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And figure it out. So it's been some good news today that film's kind of moving forward, and we're going to be shooting that in September. And that's got Richard Norton, who was also in Mad Max franchise with Vernon, George, and worked with him on that. And so it's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Everybody kind of we all kind of know each other somehow through some means, and it's great. Really, I love it. So
it's a giant family, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and we always joke.
Yeah,
and we always joke about not like someone not knowing somebody back home. Like, you meet two Australians and you kind of go, oh, well, we won't know each other, but inevitably there sometimes is a definite connection and we just don't know it. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm excited to find out that I'm 2 degrees separated from Alan Dean Foster. I'm like, and then you're talking about him, and I'm like, I haven't even. Well, I take that back. I have met Alan Dean Foster, but like briefly at a convention once. I'm like, well, I'm glad I was able to help hook you up. I'd like to meet him someday.
Exactly. Well, it's funny. It's funny. Of all the people, Alan gets the most fanning on him when you tell people, because there's an author that I've been working with on this American Indian project. He wrote the novel and he wants me to direct it. And I told him about it. He goes, the best compliment I've ever heard. He goes, Alan Dean Foster is one of 3 people that I actually buy his books again when they get worn out.
yeah, no, exactly right. No, I get exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting question. It's not time sensitive, just a general question about the industry. I'm looking at the IMDb for Island in the Stars, and I guess that as I don't know, would you call me a normie? A normie, someone who's not in the industry with you guys. I look at IMDb and I think, okay, this stuff is set in stone. But in the back of my mind, I'm kind of like, but I kind of know this stuff is changing all the time. And sometimes, when outlets report on what they see in IMDb, you hear, oh no, that's just speculation and whatnot. So how does that relate to to reality, so to speak. When I look and I see, okay, Alan Dean Foster, writer. Okay, I know that that's solid because, well, I just talked to you about it. But I mean, you know, how does IMDb get updated?
Yeah. I would never let IMDb put up something that was patently false. Or it's not, for me, it's never been a thing where it's like, hey, if I put up a lot of things I wish would happen, then maybe it'll happen. You know, I've always made it it's a snapshot. And you're absolutely right, Troy. And I call it this. Making a film is getting everyone around a hole, and everyone's like a cat. They're all running in all different directions. You have to push them into a moving hole all at the same time. This is a picture of the hole on Tuesday, and it will not be the same hole on Wednesday.
Gotcha.
So to have integrity about it, you have to say IMDb is the people that you are locked in. They're like family. You have it. Yes, you know, there's a script. Yes, there's the director. Yes, there's this person or that person. But it does change. The most volatile, I guess, that'd be the word, is the talent. Because a talent can say they want to do it, but there was somebody we reached out to that we thought was fantastic, but they're like, booked until 2026. You know, no way you can do it. So their schedule would have to open up if something fell apart. You know, otherwise you're like, okay, they're gone. You won't be able to get them. So IMDb is useful when people go, well, are they a real thing? Like when I just did Star Wars, that moved my star meter up for a little bit, where it was like, oh, Tom Star Wars Konkle. You know, it was like for one day that meant something, and it people would look me up to see if I was legit, and you know what my deal was. Like, does he have legit credits? And I do, and that's useful, and it's a great place to send people where they're like, okay, you know, who's involved, who wants to do it, but really the pitch deck is the way to do it, because a pitch deck we're constantly updating, constantly like, hey, what about this person, what about her? I don't know, how do you feel about IMDb, Lucinda?
Well, I had a very recent experience with it, in regards to sort of, it depends with talent. It's important to know that when you add somebody that like is in top 5,000, you don't actually add them yourself. Their agent will do it, or IMDb will do it themselves as well, depending on where the report has come from. So recently we attached Ernie Hudson to another film that I'm doing here in LA, and we can't attach him to IMDb. His agent or IMDb have to do that, and they only did it once it was announced on Deadline. So we had a Deadline exclusive go out, and then it was automatically generated within IMDb within an hour, like half an hour to an hour. They had it listed on IMDb, so it came from a reputable source. If you find that people are adding, because you can actually see the notes on IMDb of who's added who to what project, and verify where those sort of adjustments have come from. So if somebody is just adding famous actors to their IMDb, generally it doesn't look good. So, and also people get notifications of those. So people, agents manage their talents notifications for IMDb, and if they see something that they know is not legitimate, they'll remove it, or they'll let IMDb know about it. Yeah. So usually it's a fairly reliable source in some ways, and in other ways not so much when it comes to crew and credits, because anybody can add anything and change anything.
Right. You'll get caught eventually, but
you'll get caught eventually.
So it's kind of like an entertainment industry curriculum vitae.
A little bit, yeah, exactly.
It's half bulletin board, half CV. Yeah.
Okay. That's a great peek behind the curtain, and I know that Stephen Otten's there in the chat taking notes. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I got to remember that.
I did want to mention that the Indiegogo link is pinned to the top of the chat, so make sure you check that out.
Did you want to speak to that, Tom? Because you'd said something earlier about when the Indiegogo ended, but we're going to say that in inverted commas, right? Because people can still get in on that.
People can still get in on it. The way Indiegogo works is if you've reached your goal, if you've done okay, and people seem to be believing in it and contributing, if you reach that goal, they keep it open, and you can get stretch goals. Those stretch goals are very concrete sort of goalposts you want to hit. The reason we have some stretch goals in there, that's our offer to somebody. That may be 10% down on something. That might be the thing that we need to go to a location and secure it, or get some people on board. Like we have somebody that we want on board that, we have to look at their contract, and you're paying somebody to look at that contract. That could cost thousands of dollars too. So the stretch goals on there are accessible to anyone. You can do at any level, but what we're trying to go is to that next level beyond what we had originally wanted. We actually were on budget and got exactly what we wanted to get done with the first round on that, which is now we're at the stage where people are saying yes, and now it's on us to come back and go, okay, will you do it this many days for this amount of money? Just the kind of haranguing you have to do to get somebody, when they say yes, it's just as scary as when they say no. So we have to look at this now as it's open. If there's somebody who's like, hey, I have a little bit more I want to throw in on it, you can get a better perk. Or if somebody was like, oh, I missed it and it closed, but they want to support an indie film, you can go to the Indiegogo that Netter was talking about, right, and say, hey, I want to drop $30 in there, $100 in there, and buy my ticket now to help these guys out, because at the end of the day, they don't have the studio. They don't have the huge budgets that these films have, but I don't think those are the future. We were just talking about that. Right. I honestly believe that if we said we're trying to make a movie that's a genre movie that's fun, it's not the rare air of like an indie film that nobody can understand or get. It's a movie like Hollywood could make, but we're making it without them. Then you can jump on board right now and literally be a producer on the film.
Yeah.
And you can say, I believe in this. I don't want to see the 5th version of, I don't want to remake The Matrix. I don't want to remake The Thing again. I don't want to, swap people out and change the name. I just saw that they're doing Matlock, but it's with Kathy Bates. I'm like, why don't you just make it another show? Just make her another character. Why is she Matlock?
Right, exactly.
But if we're going to fight that thinking, then as a filmmaker, I have to think out of the box and go, you know what? Let's go to the people that think like we do, that go, I get it. I know what resources you need. I know you guys can pull it off. The gatekeeper is not letting you do it. And that's the truth of it is there's a finite number of spots, and we see the same people making the same thing over and over. The Rock's going to get his $50 million for his thing, and he's going to make another movie, and we can't think of one character name that he's ever played. What's the name of one of his characters?
That's a great point. I never thought about that. Yeah. And when you talk about his show, you don't say his character's name. No, Dwayne Johnson, right?
Exactly. It's like name one character that you love, that you'd love to come back. What's his John McClane?
The Tooth Fairy. Yeah, the Tooth Fairy. That's the only one I can think of.
I mean, when you add in the extra parameters that you love, that you want him to come back as, it's a little bit more difficult.
It's
but I can
hard,
name one character that he's done, but I wouldn't say he would.
I can't, and I'm not not about hating on anybody.
No.
I am saying, isn't it interesting that we're paying the most money to the artists like that you can't even say what they played or what they're doing? It's not even like he was did a Die Hard movie or something. Yeah, there we go. Scorpion King.
That was the one I was going to say.
King's name. What was the Scorpion King's name?
It was the Scorpion King.
Yeah, right. And even that one, you look at that one, you're like, man, that movie could have been so much better if they had just gotten those kids from the Corridor crew to do the CG for it.
And it looked great. And let's be honest, the Scorpion King was just a spin-off from The Mummy that already existed.
Exactly.
It was a cheaper version of it. We're trying to make an original movie that is a pulp adventure sci-fi movie that, it's got underpinnings from classic things like Jules Verne or Treasure Island, but at least it's not something that's already on, that you don't already own on a Blu-ray, that you can go, oh, I have that. It's like, we're going to do that again? Or it's not the 5th iteration. It's not Bad Boys 4. It's not whatever. At least we're trying to do something new, but the barrier for Lucinda and I is very high because it is a club and we are not in it.
Well, and it's something that I'm excited about, and this is me going back to my childhood. Okay, Star Wars. We're going to draw a little comparison here. Star Wars had some big names in it. It had, Sir Alec Guinness. It had Peter Cushing, so on and so forth. But the main actors were
Yep.
people you'd never. Who knew who Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher? My mom and grandma said, "Oh, that's Eddie Fisher's daughter."
Fisher's daughter, yeah.
You know, but not that she'd
No
been
baggage.
in anything. And
Yeah.
and I'm looking at this going, man, okay, you got the star power. That well, Superman was the same thing, right? You had Marlon Brando, you had
Christopher Reeve, who was an unknown.
Exactly, but Christopher Reeve, nobody knew who he was. So Christopher Reeve get third billing in his own movie because it was the star power, right?
They got a guy who was right for the part, but didn't necessarily have all the baggage. They didn't go for like Dustin Hoffman or all the obvious choices. And we're doing the exact same thing. Literally, when we were writing it, it was engineered to have her mentored by other people.
Yeah.
But she has her own thing, her own agency, and the two leads, the man and the woman in it, don't need to be stars to make it work. They just need to be good actors. I'd literally love to just get someone and who needs a chance, who has a great theater background or just never got a break, and you bring that person up and you go, well, if they're right and they're good for it, no one goes, oh, I would go see it, but is so-and-so in it? You know, and that doesn't happen.
Right, right.
Look, isn't it interesting that outside of the MCU, most of those actors have not found traction? Like, other than RDJ, who was already great,
right?
You look at like Chris Evans and some of these other people; they're not opening big movies, and yet they're in the biggest movies ever in history with Avengers. You know, and it's just interesting to me that the characters are the star, not the people.
That was always the case in that kind of a genre. But yeah, so when you talk about, well, people that you can't talk about yet, you know, these big names, but that makes me think of what you were talking about when you were talking about George Miller, how things change in the industry on a daily basis, and that frees up so and so. So yeah, this might be an opportunity. But at the same time, I am excited about the next Christopher Reeve, Carrie Fisher, whatever.
Yeah, find some people. Yeah, so we can enjoy the movie without the baggage.
And is it okay for me to say, I look at Emily Coop, I look at Krista Vendy, and they are beautiful women. Are we allowed to still say that about the people that are going to be on the big screen? Or, am I going to be pilloried for the male gaze? They are attractive people.
How dare you say attractive
I know, right?
I don't know. My favorite actor is this guy named Tom Konkle.
Well, yes. I mean, that's true.
Well,
I've never heard of him.
Before
Who's
that,
that?
you heard of that guy? Yeah. That's very sweet of you, and you're absolutely right. These women are beautiful.
I thought he was going to say, you're absolutely right. That Tom Konkle's good looking.
He's quite a hottie. No, they are amazing women, and they have not given them enough of a chance to shine. And yet, I saw something in them very early on that I thought these people are perfect for roles, and I would love to elevate them. And they're working just as hard as anyone else. You know how it is. It's like any career, but a turn left or right, you're not going to make it, or you are, depending on who goes. You get a promotion, you get to work, you get to move on to the next thing, and you can be throwing down your best A game, but people have to agree with you. And sometimes, at least in my own career, sometimes the world's not ready for what you have to offer, even if it's good. There's been times where I've thrown down some of my best stuff, and it hasn't found it because of marketing or just doesn't have the same push. But it doesn't mean it's not good. It just means that the world wasn't ready to receive it in that way that you would really see it take off. But I always joke, I'm like, 10 years from now, they're like, he died, but that guy had some good stuff. Except for Netter, who already knew it.
Right, exactly.
And for you all that are looking to maybe know what it's like to be a producer or a writer or whatever, there are some perks here on the Island of the Stars, Indigoto. There's a VFX seminar, there's a screenwriting seminar, producing seminar. It's like, and they're only $999, which is a bargain for all of the information that you're going to be getting in these seminars, that if you were to try to go to something like this normally, you'd be spending thousands and thousands of dollars to get the same information you're going to be getting in these ones. So if that's something you're interested in, grab that perk. But
the other thing that I really want to underscore and give you guys an opportunity to comment on is, in our community, we do a lot of talking about entertainment and so forth, and there's a lot of negative stuff because we're frustrated. We're frustrated with Hollywood. We're frustrated with the big names, like you said, the rehashes, the remakes, the sequel upon sequel upon sequel. And this is an independent film project. This is our opportunity to contribute, whereas Hollywood is the big names with the big money, and I mean too much money. I think they're spending too much money on what they're doing. Whereas the best movies have always been, in my opinion, Star Wars was one at that time. It was an independent film on a low budget that blew everyone away and revolutionized the industry. And this is our opportunity to be the grassroots that make this thing take off.
I
So
want to address
what
Jessica-
better perk is there?
I want to address Jessica Hardo's comment. He said, "I'm sorry, but I'm just afraid to get spoilers for this awesome project. You're not going to get any spoilers.
No spoilers.
We are not divulging any information that will spoil the experience for you at all." It's like, it's like Troy and I probably know a little bit more than y'all because we've been talking,
And
but
we still don't know
have
anything that would
spoilers.
constitute a spoiler.
There still are no spoilers.
Well, and Tom, when we talk about moving parts, are there still some moving parts in the story where if you were to tell the story right now, it's going to be a little bit different when it actually goes to be filmed?
What? A movie is made 3 times. It's made when you write the script. It's made when you're on the set, working with the actors and staging it, and then it's made again in the editing
Right.
bay. I have remade the script 17 times now, and each time though, writing is knowing what to take out, not necessarily what put in. And the editing of the script and the honing it, or I get affected and changed. Like there'll be times when I've contacted Lucinda and like, Lucinda, I was up last night and these hieroglyphics, and this is exactly what it needed in this thing, and it'll affect the whole script backwards through it. But it makes it better because I'm different now that I'm visiting it, and nothing is ever finished; it's only abandoned. So for me, because film is a visual medium, I feel like the script is a blueprint, but not the building. And so, yes, it definitely is evolving and changing. Something I wanted to point out, too, that Netter was kind enough to mention. When you look at some of the higher perks, like the producing one, yes, it's $999, but that's also cumulative. It's not just for the seminar. You get everything backwards from that. Like, you will get the credit, you will get the Blu-ray, you will get the soundtrack and all the other things. So we wanted to make it have value. This is not about us starting some kind of business doing these seminars. It's us going, how do we thank these people in the best personal way and like give them access to something that you may never have access to? If you're into music and the band goes, hey, you want to look backstage and find out how we write a song? Well, yeah, you'd want to do that. And me as a filmmaker, I would love to have somebody go, hey, you want to see the seminar, like how I make this and how I do this and think about it? Or even if you don't want to be a filmmaker, your enjoyment will be different. If you know how the thing is being put together, you will appreciate things on a different level.
Yeah.
And
exactly. I did want to, I'm glad you reminded me of that. Everybody go check out the perks there, the lower tier ones, which are, as he said, covered by the upper tiers. DVDs, right? This project is supporting physical media, right? Yes. So right off the bat, you're going to have an opportunity not only to see it in the theater, but you will be able to own your physical copy that you can put on your shelf and watch whenever you want. It's not leaving the theaters and then going to the Real Deal Plus on stream, and you only see it if you subscribe. I'm just coming up with names off the top of my head here.
But there's also things like the Making the Collector's Edition book, something you can physically hold in your hands and see all of this wonderful information about the
props,
film.
posters,
everything.
You'll be the only person to have it, Netter. You're absolutely right. And the reason that we did that is there needed to be some kind of a custom way for us to go, thank you for buying it now when we needed it. And because we don't have the support of the studios, or we don't have these deep pockets of Warner Brothers development deals and things like that, we need to figure out a way to say thank you to people on different levels. If somebody's going, I can't afford $999, It's not about that. Throw
Right.
in $30,
Yeah.
and you're still part of it. You're still a valued member. It's that whole thing. You treat the janitor the way you treat the CEO. I'm grateful for the $10 person as much as I am for the $5,000, because that person is still going to enjoy the movie we make as much as the person who put in more money. The person who put in more money has those resources and wants to get access to it, but they're not going to enjoy it in any different way. It's the movie's for everybody.
Right.
And yeah, I feel like movies right now are too expensive to even go see in the theater. That's another issue. And I also think you're right. Streaming it right away subverts that experience. So how do we make a custom experience? Well, physical media it won't go away. Streaming
Exactly.
stinks. So the problem with streaming is you
It
can
does.
buy something. I know Netflix listening to me now for the deal. I don't mean that. No, it doesn't. No, because here's why it stinks. Is anyone can go through your library and you have a book you love or something, they can go,
Excuse me.
that book's
Yeah.
gone. We don't have that deal anymore.
Yeah.
And the idea of releasing a movie right now and then streaming it 3 weeks later, yeah, genius. What are you going to do? You're going to wait for it for 3 weeks and then go see it. You have to have the experience of, let's see it in the theater. We made it to be seen in a theater, and then you can enjoy it at home. Then we can stream it. Then you can have it on physical media. Physical media is going to save us, because do you remember when they used to make a lot of money releasing movies on DVD and Blu-ray? Now
Yes.
we lose a lot of money streaming.
Yes.
And
And
now we're bleeding $1 trillion streaming.
there are so many films that that I've done rewatches of, and at least told people go check out, that lost money in the theaters,
Yep.
but then people were awakened to them on cable, and then they went out and bought the
Bought the
DVDs
disc.
in large
Right.
quantities, and then that movie became a cult classic and got a sequel.
Yep.
So that's
Dread,
Yeah.
and Edge of Tomorrow, all of those movies found their audience, and that's another thing I want to complain about. the movies now, they count the first weekend and then that's it. And we're all old enough to know you could have a movie be out and like 6 weeks later it's still in the theater. You can enjoy it. Word of mouth builds. When did we get this thing where it's like, if it doesn't make money the Friday and Saturday, it's over. It's game
Yeah.
over. That kind of pressure means you don't make movies that take any chances, and you don't make different kinds of movies, because you're like, it's got to be whatever that movie was that made a lot of money on Friday and Saturday. And that you're never going to get these movies that we all grew up loving, because those movies didn't do that. The Terminator was a slow burn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about, a film having legs, right? I think that there's and it's part of the same misconception. These big names in Hollywood think you only make money off of a known quantity, and that mentality leads to, well, if it doesn't make any money in its first week, it's not going to make any money. And I suppose you could say that about a sequel, reboot, whatever, but when it's something brand new, it does take the time for because no one went to see it except a few people, and then those few people might go, damn, this was good. And then they do a YouTube video, and then they tell their friends, and then they go back to see it again, and then the second, third, and fourth week do really well, but you weren't paying attention to that because you were so laser focused on that first week. That's the problem.
Sweetie,
You're
why don't you
absolutely
share
right.
the Indiegogo page so we can be looking at that while we're talking?
I will do that.
Definitely
Sure.
bring that up. But yeah, you make a great point. I think that one of the things that we've done is we've turned art into sport, and also a little bit like the stock market, and we look at numbers and we value things by that, which is fine. It's a barometer of like, well, is it any good? Did it make any money? But some of the movies that we've all loved were all bombs, and some of these movies were movies that nobody wanted to make that ended up being some of the movies we love the most. And we have to remember that there needs to be a bigger tent for these things. We can't just have, well, people remember the Little Rascals, let's do another Little Rascals movie. We need to have a thing where something can grow and nurture, and it'll be in a theater, and 6 weeks from now we go see it for the first time. It's good. You tell your friends. Why couldn't it work that way? Isn't that better than having it be try and pack everyone in, and then the movie theater's empty for 3 weeks, and then it leaves?
Exactly.
It just doesn't make sense to me as a way of doing art. And again, most things that we love someone said no to begin with, because they didn't see, it's like the Beatles, guitar bands are on the way out, or Star Wars, it's got dogs talking in it or whatever. And those are the people that are still the gatekeepers. And I want to make Hollywood people a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. I get that that's what they're in the business of doing. I would love to make them a lot of money. I would love to have their talent make money. But at the end of the day, I also want a kind of radical honesty of like, guys, this isn't working. We need to look at how much you're spending so that you can say, we need to make $1 billion or this fails. That's kind of pressure that makes you not have a good movie, which is why we've made our movie scaled way down, and we're taking advantage of shooting in Australia and the American dollar against the Australian dollar. So the scrappy indie film like that is trying to be a genre movie has a chance now, because this is exactly what happened in the late 60s when they were making Cleopatra and paying $1 million for a gem on Elizabeth Taylor. All of a sudden, these other filmmakers came in with these scrappy ideas for genre movies, and they took over. And we ended up with Star Wars, Godfather, Easy Rider, all these movies coming that all the studios were like, I don't know, yeah. Made the kids like it, but that's the whole premise of Island in the Stars. Isn't it radical to make an old Hollywood fun movie that's an adventure movie that anyone can enjoy, from grandma to a thing, and not feel insulted?
Yeah,
that's at the end of the day, that's the movie I want to see.
I wanted to bring this up. So, I mean, here's a perk here. Meet and greet with Emily Coop. $349 US. It may sound like a lot to some of you, but at the same time, imagine now if you could spend $349 to go back in time and meet Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, or Harrison Ford before Star Wars came out, or when Star Wars came out. Imagine that, and I think what surprised me when I looked at this was 0 out of 10 claimed. That particular perk, no one wanted to get in on? Come on, guys, you're missing out on a wonderful opportunity that later on you'll go, man, I wish I did that,
You know
Not
what?
to mention, she's pretty.
She's pretty, and you know what? She has an incredible singing voice and does songs.
She does. She really
fantastic. And you'll be meeting her after she's making a major motion picture. And you're right. It's like meeting, meeting Karen Allen before she was Marion Ravenwood. It's an opportunity to sit down with somebody and go, hey, how did you end up here? And I like your music, and tell me how it was. And it's a chance to just be part of the process of making this in a way that no one in Hollywood would let you. I mean, they wouldn't let you anywhere near, the sort of rare air that all the people live in. And she's going to be a star.
I mean, and Vernon Wells. I mean, that's a name you already know, right?
Yeah.
Go and say how excited you were to see him in Mad Max, and you're a big fan, and Trouble is My Business. I mean,
He's wonderful. Yeah,
My
I
favorite
loved
film.
working with him now. Yeah, your favorite
I got
film?
2 copies.
what was it like to punch Tom Konkle in the face,
He enjoyed it a little too much.
Yeah, we could tell. We could tell that wasn't acting anymore.
Yeah, he connected a few times. I enjoyed doing Trouble with him. Trouble was a great opportunity to call up people like Vernon and say, hey, I've got this little film noir I want to make, and I've never done a film noir. Tom, I'd like to do that. And you get him in, and that started the sort of relationship that we have now, where he, with Lucinda and I, is one of the producers, and his bucket list was to do this character. He's like, I just want to be a pirate, and do these things. And I'm like, okay, you won't believe this, but we already wanted to do this. And I sent it to him, and he tells the story. If you watch the video, invite anybody to go onto the site. You don't have to play it right now, but it's on the site, and it's him telling the story of how we met. He was the first celebrity I actually ever met in L.A., and Mad Max was the first R-rated movie I ever saw as a kid. I tricked my dad into taking me. So meeting him was like, wow. And then you think, well, what does the universe have in store for me? Well, sure enough, my first feature was with him, all these years later, and I had told him, I'm going to work with you. and now we're making this movie, which is his dream come true.
Yeah.
So in a weird way, he got to make my dream come true doing it, but now I'm giving back to him by going, that bucket list part you always wanted, I'm going to make it happen. And we are making it happen. And everybody that contributes to this is directly making it happen for him.
So I want to real quick zip back up to the top. We're looking at currently 225 backers, which I think is such a tiny number. We could have an army of people, right now. That's what I'm talking about, grassroots, right? And this isn't a zero-sum game, guys. I recommend if you haven't contributed, contribute something, just something, so that you could say you were a part of it. But what you can contribute, whether you've gotten in on financially, share this out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get your friends involved. Let them know. Again, imagine going back in time and saying, there's this movie, Star Wars. It's going to be coming out. It's going to be huge. There's going to be action figures. You're going to be loving this for the next 40, 50 years. But you got to help make it happen.
Yes. And that's the thing. At the end of the day, Island in the Stars is something we're doing very professionally. It's not something where we haven't paid our dues. We've done this a long, long time. The only difference is, like Star Wars, we tried to take this and distill what is it we love about these kinds of stories? What's the story that you want to see yourself? And then you hope people agree with you. And in this case, every iteration of the story, as we start to really hone it down on the script, it's like, God, I would have wanted to see this when I was 14. Or, her adventures in this thing touch you in such a way that you're like, gosh, this is exactly how I felt when I saw, Jason and the Argonauts, and he's fighting a skeleton and doing, there aren't movies really that have that sense of innocent wonder to them, but also kind of a mythology around them, the way Star Wars built it up. And I really looked at, how Joseph Campbell influenced him and how I could do the mythic journey in my own spin. But there are things in common with the movies that we love that you can't get by deconstructing them or being cynical about them. Or having worked on other people's sets, I'm always astounded how many people don't believe in the thing they're working on. For them, it's just, hey, I needed to cover my comedy base, or hey, I booked this show, but I don't really like it.
Or it's a genre thing and I know nothing about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's a sci-fi. I don't have any sci-fi on my, but
it's fiction. Really, we can do whatever we want. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. We can deconstruct this easily. So at the end of the day, it's a person who became a professional who's still a fan, who's still going, we've been knocking at the door trying to do this, and finally we said, you know what, I'm tired of being a waiter, we want to own the restaurant. And so we crafted this whole film to be everything that we could think of that had integrity as a story, that was professional and could speak to people to have a good time. To just watch this, forget about your problems, and go on a journey where it's someone learning about themselves. They have a hard time. They're denying the adventure. They find mentors that, she respects. And then at the end of the day, she has to go, you know what? It's a slow drip, but I'm bleeding. I need to do something about my life. And I would love if people walk out of the film and just go, you know what? I'm not going to take this crap anymore that I'm doing. I'm going to try and do something about it. I'm present in my own life. I'm going to do something. Or at the very least, you're like, you know what? I didn't think about my bills for 2 hours. And that's all I really want. It's a very big tent. Everybody from every spectrum should be able to go this, not know anything about me, not know anything about this, and go, that was pretty good. I'm surprised. And I enjoy it for whatever I brought into it and I took from it. And so at the end of the day, it's calculated to be a professional film, but it eventually just gives into this is what we wanted to see when we were kids. This is what we wanted to see now that we don't feel like anyone's doing. And I know they could do it because I've enjoyed movies my whole life that I'm like, God, it's a miracle that got made. I love that movie. But it doesn't seem to be happening right now. Right now, it seems to be collapsing. And it seems to be that there are not original ideas welcome at all. Like, Megalopolis is a great example.
Yeah.
No one wants to make it. Now, whether you like it or not is irrelevant. This man believed in it enough to sell his winery, put his own money in it, and go, you know what? I'm not long for this world. I'm going to make this movie. Now, whether it's good or not is really irrelevant to the idea of this is one of the few original ideas and movies that's even coming out.
Right.
I mean, we're waiting for movies that might be great, but it's still Deadpool and Wolverine, which, how many movies has Wolverine been in? It's still the same movies that, even if they're good, we can't keep doing the same thing over and over again because we're making copies of copies of copies. We've got to move on. And I would love to be part of that wave, and I think Lucinda feels the same way. We're fans of genre films. We're fans of these, but you have to feed the beast something new.
Yeah.
You cannot keep going back and rebranding the same thing over and over and going, hey, pull the fast one, it's a woman this time. And it's like, Robin Hood is a woman. Why don't you just write a new thing? Why don't you just write a new James Bond character? If you don't want, I feel like the people making these are sick of their own thing. So they just sit and go, I'm bored with it. What do you want to do to it? I don't know. I don't even like it. And we sense that as an audience. We're like, we want to enjoy it. We want it made by people that like it.
So okay, so the Clue Channel is keying in on the IMDb credit. Yeah. Curtis Selby was saying I'd love to be an extra in it, but he said it's probably unrealistic. It would be tough. You'd have to get out to Australia, but that's why.
I'll put you in there. Yeah.
But I did bring up. Here's an option here for you. Adopt a pirate. You can name. You want to explain how that works?
Lucinda, could you?
Yeah, absolutely. So adopt a pirate. Obviously, we've got a bunch of pirates in the background. There's lots of different fun and scary looking characters in this world, and we just thought it would be kind of cool if somebody wanted to name one, and we thought, well, it kind of helps them be a part of it and feels like they've contributed to the film more than just obviously money, which is amazing, but it also gives them a little bit of a mark or a stamp on the film that they've contributed, that they'll work with us to kind of go, well, obviously Bodie McBoatface might not be something we're going to go for, but, Pirate McPirate, I don't know.
No, but can you imagine, Curtis, can you imagine a pirate? I mean, I think Curtis Selby is a great name for a pirate.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then you can point to it and you say, I could see like an Island in the Stars wiki where all the little background characters are named, and there's Curtis Selby there, who was one of the pirates of so and so's ship, and yeah.
Yeah, and basically then that character name will appear in the credits, so you'll see it in writing on the credits as well and on IMDb. But so it's kind of like getting an IMDb credit, but not really.
Yeah.
And somebody asked about the 5K perk. I can't find the comment now.
The Leviathan perk.
Yeah. So what is
I
the
just like the name of that perk, the Leviathan.
Yeah, the Leviathan perk. Well, that's the all-in. If you really did want to be a producer as a full experience, we wanted to, at something at that level, obviously we have to give back. And so you'd be there. You'd be at the red carpet. You could tell people I'm an exec producer on this film. Everything is right there. You'll be enjoying the film at the premiere. You'll have a sort of a fly on the wall seat for everything that we're doing, because at that level we're so grateful that you're willing to put something in like that. The Leviathan perk is for somebody obviously who can afford it and wants to do it, and we would be honored to have someone put in that level, and we would make sure that they felt included. The person, we have 2 people actually at that level now, and we have meetings with them. We include them in our Zoom calls. I'm talking to them on a regular basis, as is Lucinda, and they have materially contributed ideas and talked, and they're super fans of the movie, and we're grateful for someone that wants to do something at that level.
Yep. So I can't say this enough, guys. If $5,000 sounds like a lot of money, that's fine. There's plenty of. Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. I gotta I'm on the wrong screen. You know, there's 75, there's 30, there's 25, there's 4. There's 4. You know, can you do $4? That's less than what you're going to spend at. Well, I was going to say on a Big Mac, but for crying out loud, it's $20 to get a meal at McDonald's these days. That's less than your Starbucks or whatever the coffee goes for these days.
And then imagine converting it to Australian dollars on top of that, like I have to at the moment. It's scary.
Yeah.
I picture you going and you got the numbers flying around you like the meme, and you're thinking.
Yeah.
So now, what's like if you have $1 US, what is that Australian?
I think so. Like $1 would probably get you about. I think it's
60 cents.
2
Oh, wow.
cents. Something.
Okay.
62 cents.
It's really.
You feel the difference,
bad.
but it works to our favor when we go because our
Yes.
end budget on this
Yeah.
is 25 million, which is 32 or 33 million in Australia.
Yeah.
And so that goes
Wow.
a very long way. And yet that's considered low budget because movies now are 160 million dollars and they never make their money back.
We're not going to get deep into the woods on the finances. You mentioned 25 million. I don't want people to think that, well, 75,000, we're a long way away. No, there's other things going on in the background. This is the foot in the door. This is the leverage, you know, and you know, a little goes a long way here. So the higher that number gets, you know,
Of course.
it brings. Go ahead. If you want to
Transparency,
speak.
Troy. Yeah, full transparency on it. This is the boots on the ground grassroots showing that people are interested and you're buying a ticket, and this buys us the access that we need to capitalize as an indie film. The big picture is we go with what we've raised here and what we've put together here. We go to a couple of finance entities and high value people that want to put the money in, but wanted to see that we had our act together. Now that we have, those are the people that I was mentioning are coming in and taking a look at the project and wanting to finance it on that level. We don't even pretend to say we can make a movie of this scope for $100K or something like that. We're not naive that way. What we're saying is this is the eyeballs, this is the proof of concept that there is at least interest in it. It's what gets us to buy the access that we need to be able to present it to indie financiers. This is not the Hollywood financial system,
Right.
because the way it would work if it was a studio film is it would be packaged together by the studio. They would assign people to it. It's like, you're going to write this, you're going to put this, we're going to package this actor with it, and then it would go through that system. When you're doing something indie, you usually put it together, get people to jump in the boat there, and then you turn around and sell and license that film as a finished product, which is what we're going to do, to the regular industry that you see, like a Lionsgate or Warner Brothers or whoever might be releasing it. That's when it finally gets the big push and gets seen by everyone in a theater. But they are not the ones manufacturing the movie. And so we are putting this together at this level so that we can turn around to the people and go, okay, we now need you to flash your finances so we can make an offer to this actor that has said yes. And they will see and they'll be like, oh, wow, you've got people interested. You've got a lawyer. You've got all the script together. Yeah, we'll do this. And then we go to the financial entity and they go, yeah, we love that actor. Let's go ahead and pay them. And then we announce we've got so-and-so.
So, to Jesse, you might have a different answer to Jesse's question here. He's asking about new videos coming out, maybe behind the scenes and whatnot. First, I would say make sure you're following The Real Deal with Tom Konkle. That's REEL, Real Deal with Tom Konkle on YouTube. Not only for updates on Island in the Stars, but he puts out a lot of great content there. The Flash Gordon radio show that he does, and
my creativity gets bottled up. Yeah.
I mean,
I know
there's
Lucinda likes those too.
I love it.
it's entertainment for you while you're waiting for Island in the Stars, and there's a lot of content there. You can go back; you don't have to wait for news.
Oh
stuff.
yeah, in fact, the whole feature I've put up on there, the black and white version. But yeah, like the Flash Gordon stuff is fun, silly comedy. But I'll tell you, it's a muscle that I love to exercise. Like I wrote 2 episodes of it, 2 30-minute episodes, and that improved my writing in general, and it got me in that headspace. And it's a great outlet for creativity. And I love sci-fi. And so doing a goof on that, like it's almost a Naked Gun version of Flash Gordon, that makes me happy. And I'm doing it for people that like that and have that sense of humor. I don't want anything from it. I'm not trying to make it work, and
Yeah.
thing. It's like it just exists, as all things that you try and create. It exists. If somebody agrees with you, then you move on to the next thing.
A lot of sketch comedy over there. I see this and I'm like, I see two actors that I know are American actors doing British accents, and I'm like, oh, I see what they're doing. They're kind of homaging, the
Double acts, yeah.
Yeah.
Cooking More and all the great British comedy.
I'm like,
teams.
oh, I get this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You got
yeah.
something against accents, do you?
No, I don't. It's just a little surprising. I'm like, I know they don't have. Oh, I see what he's doing. Yeah, no, because
Say,
those
I'm
things.
in trouble if you are against accents. I can't help it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like my mother's English and my grandfather's Scottish, so either accent will come out every once in a while.
Yeah, it absolutely does. She's an accent mutt.
Yeah. That British accent is what got me into Filoni and doing Tales of the Empire when I play Moff Isdane. He's a Brit. And we had a great conversation because
I'm gonna take this.
I went in and I was reading the script and I was like, oh my God, I would love a character like to play the bad guy in this. And so I told Dave Filoni, I go, this reminds me of like Peter Ustinov in Spartacus or one of the senators in Spartacus. And he goes, oh my God, I was just watching that movie. Like, that's who this guy is.
Yeah.
And so once I had that character and I did the accent, he was like, I thought that was your real voice, and I'm fine with that. But I got to do Moff, be like a baddie and a British guy. And I work a lot with accents. In fact, I just auditioned as an Australian, but I will not do an Australian accent. But I just auditioned for a voice thing today. But it's from listening to Lucinda and Vernon for years that I can actually do it, because I listen very carefully, like Peter Sellers does. He would listen to an accent and you find the hook of the accent, the way they say things, and the energy in their voice. And that's sort of my
Right.
day job. So that's how I make my living, is doing different voices and disappearing. And Flash is a great example. I play multiple characters in Flash Gordon, or there's a thing called the Hairy-Handed Hitchhiker, where I'm Orson Welles going on a hitchhiking thing, and I meet a cross-dresser, and I mean, there's all kinds of fun stuff. So, Orson Welles and cross-dressing. But at the end of the day, it's all about pretend and creating these different characters. And once your voice changes, your brain changes with it. I say things as Sir Reginald in Invention that I wouldn't say as Tom. He's more clever than I am. He's more interesting and all these other things. And it's once you have that voice in the character, it changes every molecule. Everything in your body is changed by it.
What you did is you just basically summed up acting. You're kind of becoming someone else. So you did. You kind of touched on it a little bit. You're gonna. This is star power. Right, I have no interest in modern Star Wars, but now I'm going to have to go check it out because Tom Konkle, has a
little part. Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge part. It's only a six episode piece. It was actually created during the writer strike. They stopped it because it was they were going to do more. But I have a great scene in it. I'm one of the bad guys in it, and you audition for all these things, hoping that one day. You might be in something that you liked, and I do love the original Star Wars. I am a huge fan of Lucas's work, and he's a huge influence on me as both an actor, wanting to be in those kinds of things, like finally doing it. It's a shame Star Wars doesn't quite have the same luster now that it used to have, but just to be in it was a dream come true for me. I literally, back in the day, I moved to LA, and that was one of the reasons. Was I had seen Star Wars when I was very young, and I realized, wow, you can create this whole other world with these other people and live in it, and it seems real. And I loved the excitement of it and the creativity of it. And so it took me a very long time to get there, but I finally did it. I can finally say I was in Star Wars. I'm in canon on that. And that, to me, feels wonderful. And if nothing else ever happens in it, I did it, and I'm okay with that. I love that I did it. They treated me great. I really have nothing bad to say about the experience. It was like a dream to finally do it, and my son said it best. He was at college and he got together with his friends and was watching it, and he goes, "It's so weird to hear your dad as the villain in Star Wars."
And did your son say, "Yeah, no, he really is a villain in real life"?
Yeah, he's in real life. Yeah. He goes, you don't know him. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
right.
my son's he's such a good guy and such a good kid that, I mean, he was so honest about it and told me, he's like, sat with my friends and did it. He goes, just hearing you do it was like, it was weird, and I'm like, yeah, it was weird for me too.
Yeah.
And that's the magic of these stories that we kind of can get lost in. And I'm still first and foremost a fan, first and foremost an audience member to all these things. I just happen to also make my living doing them in my own way, and making films and coming up with stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm just like anybody else. It's like I get a rush from watching something good. I get inspired, or if it's terrible, you feel all motivated and you're like, I could do something as bad as that. I could do that. And you learn more from the bad stuff than you do from the good, because the good sometimes makes you want to quit. You're like,
And
the first
speaking
time
of,
I was just gonna say, the first time I ever saw Dark Knight, I saw it at this place called the Cinerama Dome, which is the Half Dome in LA. It's this really cool landmark, and they had glass cases with all the uniforms and all the costumes from it. And the first time I walked out of Dark Knight, I was like, do I have anything that I could say? Like, is there more that I can do, or is that it? Because it was on so many levels, like the cast and the integrity, and I didn't feel insulted by it, and it was just so good for me that it was a little daunting. But then later, with distance, I started to see, well, this is why it's good, and this is the lesson in the story, and this is why I feel this way. So it became educational. But at first, when you see something that's like complete and whole, I'm sure this is true of any industry. If you're building a car and you see this amazing car that someone's done, you're like, do I have it in me to design something like this, or can I do this? From the bad designs, you're like, I did this wrong, I could do that, I can do this, I can see it. You learn more from your own mistakes than you do your victories.
Tom, I just realized, because of a question that came in, we should have, we kind of started out tonight with just the assumption that it was just an update. But the fact is, we've got a number of people here. Stardate Trivia, for one, is saying, what is Island in the Stars? Can we back up and give the elevator pitch real quick?
Yes. Island in the Stars is a adventure film in the classic mold. It's about a young woman who is basically hiding from her own life. She's on a planet. She's taking care of her mother, and her father has disappeared in shipping lanes. She is approached by a space pirate who has a mysterious key which could lead to her missing father, but ultimately leads to her taking a voyage to a mysterious planet where she has to confront the people that may have her father. She has to find herself and find her own skill set. Can she survive this? And at the end of the day, she learns a lot about what it is to be alive, what it is to be a hero, and do the right thing. And it's very much in the tone of, it's very much in the tone of, like the adventure of something like the original Pirates of the Caribbean, the world building of Star Wars. But it's its own animal in that it gives you that feeling that you have when you read a classic pulp adventure. And at the end of the day, it's an adventure story where we battle space pirates in this sort of steampunk world. And at the end of the day, it's about humans learning what it is to be heroes, to mentor people, and about life. And so it's about something, but it's not ponderous. It's not, pontificating about what you should think. It just gives you things to think about.
Yeah. So as you look through the and again the Indiegogo is that I'm showing you right now. The link is pinned to the top of the chat. You can go check it out for yourself. You can play all these videos, see the treatments, see the
that amazing artwork.
Yep, you can see you can hear Vernon Wells talking about it himself because he's incredibly excited about it.
Well, do you want to play the trailer?
No, I want people to go check it out for themselves.
You can go to the site and play it, sure. And that artwork right there was painted by an artist named Christopher Shy, who has done a bunch of great movie posters, and we commissioned him to do that. The other artwork is all the concept art that we will be hiring people to design, production designers. I wanted to have this sort of used future fairy tale look with steampunk influences on it, so it almost feels like a nautical, swashbuckling, Errol Flynn, Ray Harryhausen kind of feel with pirates, which I haven't seen, but I want to see.
True, and as you look at this artwork, again, think, the Ralph McQuarrie treatments that Star Wars got that we're still looking at these days. It's like it's going to change a good deal, but this just gives you an idea, right?
I really wanted it to be like the covers of the old sci-fi novels that you'd get from the 70s and 80s.
I see that
with photorealism.
Yeah.
And then this is our cast and the sort of look of our various characters. We want to have a kind of classic setup. You had talked about having some of the older talent, your Peter Cushings and Alec Guinness. Well, the mentors in this will be classic Australian actors that we love, that we want to see, ride one more time and do something. And they're mentoring the younger people in this that are going on the adventure. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, one of the things we've discussed is looking at an indigenous actor, an Australian indigenous actor, as the romantic lead, as Otis. We find our Luke Skywalker, and he just happens to be a native, someone who doesn't have any major credits, but who's a great actor that we could elevate, and we just do it because it's Australia. And you don't see someone in that role, and it would be fun to see someone do it.
I do feel like when we watch sci-fi, especially something that is set, in the past, in the future, whatever, it's supposed to be multiple planets throughout a galaxy. You kind of expect a certain organic, diversity, and then when someone comes and is critical, why is it all, every one of the same colors? It's because we filmed it in, a country where it was all
it was in Sweden. Yeah.
Exactly. But here, this
in
is
the 400 AD. Yeah.
This is absolutely taking advantage of the diversity that you have to work with, and it's organic and
it's already there. It's like, Australia, everybody made it into the stars. Fine. We're not giving ourselves a pat on the back for that happening. It's like it happened. That's who it happens to be, and we move on. And it's our job to make them be good characters, to tell a good story. Any criticism we get is because we didn't write good characters and we didn't have a good story. It's not the actor's fault. It's we didn't serve the story right, and we didn't create a character that was compelling. We can't lean on it and just go, hey, look, he's this
color or that, whatever.
It's like, that's not enough.
Well,
make him good. Who happens to be that guy?
And it's like so many characters where we'll be watching a movie and Netter will be like, I don't like this character, and I'm like, well, you're not supposed to. They're the baddie.
It's Darth Vader.
It worked, that they did it right then.
Yeah. This guy doesn't seem very nice. Yeah.
Exactly.
The actor's doing their job. She's making you not like her, or you're feeling something for this character. You're like, God, this guy's cheesy. It's like, well, yeah, he did a great job, because you'll see them afterwards. Like Vernon, for example. Everyone thinks, God, he's a great villain, but he is the nicest, most sensitive person because he understands evil. He understands that the villain is the hero of his own story.
Right.
That he's doing something, but for the hero being in the way, everything would be okay. I just need to rob the place and take the money. Why are you in my way?
Exactly.
And the best roles are often the villain, because the villain has the juiciest things to do, and if the audience really doesn't like you, you've done your job.
I mean, so many people have said that, let's face it, Darth Vader was the one that made Star Wars, right?
Yes. Absolutely. Or Hans Gruber in Die Hard.
Gosh,
They're delicious and they're bad. But you're like, I kind of feel bad that I'm getting a thrill off this thing.
If Vernon Wells is only in like 5 minutes of this movie, it's still gonna be amazing, because that's gonna be 5 minutes of scene chewing. That's just that's what you're gonna remember.
This part. I wrote this part for him.
Yeah.
He's genetically designed to play this part. He has a very significant role in it through the whole thing. And he's shaded. It's going to be interesting, because I think it's going to push him as as a person and as an actor, because there are so many gray areas in a black and white world like this, where there is good and bad. There's morally right things to do and wrong things.
Yeah.
To occupy that gray area and be able to shift between them, you have to really kind of come up with a covenant with the character of like, how far do I agree with you? And he's doing this for the wrong reason, but it's okay. And he often isn't given that kind of latitude as an actor. And I know I've seen it in him because we did some tests. We did some dialogue tests, and pushing him. It's fascinating to see someone like Vernon, who's so good at playing baddies or playing people were physical imposing or these things, to have the mental game there, and also sometimes he's pretty damn charming, and it gets confusing, and I love that about this character. It's a stretch for him, but in retrospect, it's like a great album that you listen to someone play and you're like, yeah, every note, of course that note's inevitable, but it had never been played before.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I feel this song right away, and that's exactly how he is. It'll be a song that you're like, yeah, I get it. Hasn't Vernon played this kind of thing before? And you find he hasn't.
Yeah. So, I think people are getting a little excited. I do want to point out that some of the names you're seeing here, or the faces that you're seeing, some are set in stone, some are not.
Correct.
But that brings up a question that I wanted to ask those that aren't. Is the character set in stone? So, like the Doctor, if the actor that you're thinking about doesn't come through, could that be an entirely different character? Could it be a female character, for example, or something? Just depending on who you end up being able to bring in on it.
That's a great question, Troy. One of the characters we actually have said brings a much needed female influence. Originally was written as a military character. It could have been anyone, but actually it added to it by turning it into a definitively feminine, strong person. It's not a woman acting like a man, as if that's the only way a woman could be strong. It's literally, this is a strong woman who is mentoring her in the absence of her mother. She needs to, you meet the people you need to meet along your life to teach you something, to either avoid them or to learn a horrible lesson from them, or learn good things and take that away. And yes, there is a character that has flipped that makes more sense, being a female, having feminine energy. For someone like Dr. Chesham, I like to think that the writing is good enough that you can plug almost anyone into it. It really is that school of acting of who must I become to play this actor, and the character has to become me. Yeah. So hopefully, if we find the right person, and it's funny that you have that one up because Lucinda will probably smile. We were talking about this person today because this person was interested in being in this. Literally today, we got an email from a lawyer, and he's perfect for it. But if he can't do it or doesn't want to do it, the character won't change. It's not a generic enough script where you go, fine, I'll write it as a 40-year-old, or I'll write it as a 20-year-old. Okay. It's not that kind of script. We do need to find someone who's right, but there's a latitude of people that's right, and I would hope to think that I've put enough effort into the character's depth that there are many ways to interpret it, but they all serve the story the same way.
Yeah, I do, and I guess that you answered my larger question, which is kind of getting into the headspace of understanding the how you build a story like this. Because when it's amorphous at the beginning, it's like, I don't know if this is a man, a woman, old, young, but at some point you decide, okay, we know who this character is, and at this point, no, you can't just swap out willy-nilly. This is now a character, and this is what it has to be.
They need to be that person. And
I feel like Hollywood has forgotten that.
I think you're right. There's a modular quality to it, whereas I often say it's like taking dictation. Once the characters take over the story, I'm taking dictation from the characters. They'll tell me, I wouldn't say that, or this is what you say, and you can read it back and you're like, I've read the script, to Lucinda, and I've been doing the voices and doing all the characters, and it's like she said, yeah, that's exactly what they would say, or this is, yeah, that's a very inline, that's the character's voice, and it sounds off if you do it differently, or you add something that's clunky in there to pander to something. I feel like with this kind of script, when I started it, I was doing it with Mike Smith. We are fans of these movies, so we would start banding them around, and very quickly they emerged as this is who they are. This is Dr. Chesham. This is Squire Huntingfeld. And the way I like to write is I will read something back and perform it to the other person, and we'll come up with a dialogue. Structure's the other thing that I have trouble with sometimes. I begin structuring it. It's much easier for me to do dialogue and scenes and those things than finding the structure. But once we had that thing to hang it on, they spoke to me in a way that I was just getting it down. It was like, oh, this is the Squire. He does this. And then they start to surprise you, because you're like, now the Squire's going to learn this about life, or I didn't know he was going to go there. And knowing how it's going to end, I like a script that seems surprising but inevitable. So by the time of it, I'm surprised by where we ended up with some of it, and I'm an audience for it. But everything in retrospect is inevitable. It's like, well, Tom planted the seed on page 5 that was the premise, and it pays off on page 120. And that's the magic of something as solitary as writing is. All these things are in your head, and you're creating a whole world. And then as a director, you then have to communicate that to everyone and get them all marching tonally the same way, all understanding the story as you saw it, but let them contribute. Don't tell them how to say it. Don't make them say it the way they want to say it because it's right. And if you've communicated it, their idea will fit perfectly in with what you already had. If you're confident, you can let them play.
This could be a double-edged question. So steel yourself.
Well, give that to Lucinda. Yeah.
We are. I'm seeing a lot of excitement here. Specifically about the world building and the setting and whatnot, and that raises a possible question: is Island in the Stars a single standalone film, or are we thinking we got a franchise that we could be building here? Now you see why I said it was a double-edged question.
Yeah, it is a double-edged sword. Here's I'll give you the honest answer. I never presume to say that I'm building something that is going to continue beyond it. I want to make the best possible self-contained movie that I can. That being said, enough thought has been put into the way the world works and the uniqueness of this world that there is more than one valid story that could be told. That this story does have a continuation to it that isn't revisiting the same thing, but continuing what logically flows out of this world. And because it's this steampunk sort of naval future Australia swashbuckling world, there is plenty of stories that can be told that are standalone and have their own validity. And you could also have a very long story that takes a couple of films to tell. It is not my place to do that. I have plenty of ideas for the next film, but this one needs to be good enough that it warrants it from the audience that it would. And so my first task is to have a beginning, middle, and end that's satisfying. And then if it warrants it and people say, hey, that was actually pretty good, I like that, I want to play in that world, it wouldn't be a mad scramble to go, oh my God, I got to think of something else, or I tell the same story again. The story ends in a satisfying way, but there are ways that it could continue and be organically interesting.
Good answer. You answered both sides of that sword very, very well.
Well, here's one for you. Yeah. When ideally would you like to start filming?
Oh yeah, tonight.
Ideally tonight. If not tonight, what do you think, Lucinda? We were talking about end of year, beginning of next year.
Yeah, early next year, hopefully. Really, I mean, it is a matter of like getting the pieces of the puzzle in place, and once some of these pieces fall into place, we can start moving forward and really locking in certain elements. But until we do that, it's hard. You kind of have to kind of hope or project that you can start filming by a certain sort of time frame, but it's very hard to do sometimes. But yes, we're sort of hoping, end of year, early next year, that
Yeah,
Okay.
we've got enough
that's what we've
puzzles
been
in
telling
place.
talent. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and to be honest, we've done so much prep going back to, was it 2020 now or 2021? We've done so much prep on it that if someone came to us and said, "Here's the rest of the money, go make it," we could be boots on the ground in about 3 months, and legit have. I've already started planning all the shots. We've already done a complete budget. We've already got a relationship with Dream Screen Australia, which is the stages down there, and Docklands, which is another stage. We already know what locations we'd have, so it really is plug and play. If someone came to us and said, "All right, I get it, I want to make this," we would not be at a loss into how and where to spend that money effectively.
Gotcha. Awesome. Yeah, I just got to say I am incredibly excited about this, and I'm glad that I could be a part of it. And guys, like I said, share out this stream, share out that Indiegogo. It's time to put our money where our mouth is, I guess, is what I'm basically saying. We've been doing so much, grousing about the entertainment industry and saying, we need independent filmmakers to make good stuff again. Well, this is how it happens.
Exactly.
And you can help make that happen. So, and like you said,
true.
you're buying the ticket in advance before the movie's made, and you'll be ready. That opening week. That opening week, you kind of already know what your box office is going to be, at least bare minimum.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Well, no,
I
you
like
said it
this.
really well. Yeah.
Maxwell Entertainment. Trey says, "Is this Tom Konkle, the film director?"
And everything, and actor,
fan.
and voice actor, and producer, and he wears all the hats, really. Huge
But the
fan.
heavy hats. Yeah.
In
No,
fact-
hello, I'm glad you're a fan.
I have in front of me.
Oh,
Oh yeah. You
let me
There it
take
is.
this down.
take
so
that down.
Yeah.
I have Trouble Is My Business, and it is signed by Tom.
Yep.
And in a future stream coming up soon, I'll be giving this away as a prize. I have to figure out what the kind of theme is for being able to give it away, but I'm going to be giving that away. So you'll be getting a signed copy of Trouble Is My Business from Tom Konkle.
I just keep
Absolutely.
buying these Blu-rays and DVDs.
Yeah, I own, besides this one that I'm going to be giving away, I own 2 other copies that are just ours.
I don't
One's
have.
DVD, one's Blu-ray.
Where's my Blu-ray side?
Did you buy one?
Get on it, Lucinda. Nobody sent those to me. I bought them. I sent them to Tom.
Yeah.
He signed them and sent them back.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's funny you were talking about physical media being the long tail. It's like it's doing better on Blu-ray and DVD disc than anything else because people find it. They're like, oh, this is actually pretty good. I'll pick it up on Blu-ray. And on Blu-ray, that Netter was just showing is one of the rare black and white copies. Like it's a really high resolution black and white copy. It's a scrappy little indie film. We really tried to make it fun and funny and a love letter to noir and all the characters in noir. And that's what it is. It's nothing more, and that physical media is so important because right now the streamers were like, well, we don't do black and white, so I had to do a color version.
Yeah.
And then the things expire with streamers. Like it used to be on Tubi, now it's not on Tubi. I'm waiting for Tubi to pick it back up. But this time I'm saying, can you show the black and white version? Because that's the intended version. And it's
Right.
like, begging for it versus just get the disc and you can have it. And she's giving that away. And I had signed a copy to it. And the end of the day, that's the kind of thing that's going to happen if you buy one of the perks. We will make sure to put in your hand a physical copy of the film. You'll be part of it. And all the sort of social media and all the stuff I see on YouTube is overwhelmingly disappointed at what's going on. And I thought to myself, okay, what do we do about this? Like, how do we make it positive? Because positive things have more staying power than just being relentlessly negative. Like, we all get tired of, like, if a channel's just endlessly ragging on how bad everything is and offers no solution, no good commentary. Eventually you're like, okay, I get it, it's all crap, but what are we going to do about it? And now we have social media and we have crowdfunding. Most people are trying to do good stuff. How do you get that good stuff out? Well, money and enrollment of people in it is the only way to do it. So I thought, you know what? Let's instead of bitching about the movies that disappoint us,
Yeah.
we know how to make movies. You know, I make money for other people. I just did that. I was telling you Bosch Legacy episode, and I see the money they're spending on these TV shows and on movies and stuff. Why couldn't we? Why couldn't we as a collective go, well, we like a certain kind of thing and you're not making it, but we're not beholden to you to be the only source that makes it.
And it's like
I-
we've had 3 more backers, by the way. Just
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
There you
that's
go.
Awesome. That's awesome.
And can you imagine? Well, I mean, you've got to imagine. It's going to happen. The movie gets made, and it's going to force these YouTubers that we really love, that do spend all their time complaining about, this and that and the other. They're going to have to talk about Island in the Stars, and they'll talk about it as a to Hollywood and say, this is doing awesome. We were telling you all along this is what we
Right.
wanted. Look at this. And, first week, like I said, you already have your minimum audience built in by the time it goes live. Second week, third week, fourth week, because of the legs I expected to have because of that.
Yep. I hope if everything went well, just like everything else that we love that someone creates, there's a book that nobody wanted to make. There's a movie that you grew up and loved that nobody wanted to make. There needs to be a first one. And now there's just a different way of doing it, which is you can look at it and go, all right, I watched it. I think you guys can pull it off. Let's do it. And no time in history have you been able to do that. But it's a great opportunity to actually be able to be part of it now. Even if the people on YouTube eventually, I didn't like it or whatever, it's like, no, but they did it. Tom directed the movie. They made it. They actually did it. Now, whether you like it or not, we don't know. But at least we're trying to make something so that it's not the same 5 people making the same 5 movies every year that we're going, here's another one, and here's another thing, and it's not very good, and it's expensive, and it's got to come from somewhere else. I think maybe this is a way that we can disrupt it, and we can make this. And we're trying to have integrity and transparency and say, look, this is what we're trying to make. If you agree with us, jump on board. We're not hobbyists. We do this for a living, but we are not beholden to the same system, the same messaging, the same things that have just gotten old and tired over the last 4 years.
Amen. And I'll tell you what, not only am I looking forward to this movie, I'm looking forward to the role-playing game, I'm looking forward to the action figures. By the way, if you do decide to go the action figure route, I'll put you in touch with some people.
I would love to talk to him. Seriously, I really would, because we could do scans of the characters early and get the figures to be very accurate. And I think that would be a lot of fun.
Okay,
Absolutely.
let's talk about it after the show, because I'm serious. I really can't.
Okay.
And then I would want a full set of all of them because, you got to be completed to have
now.
Yes.
Full set signed by Tom Konkle.
That's right.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And you have to sign them too. Yeah.
This
absolutely.
could get me. I'm a 3 3/4 inch action figure kind of guy, but I know what's going to happen. These are going to come out in the 6-inch scale, and it's like, damn, now I got to start getting 6-inch scale figures.
Right.
Damn you, Tom, you did it to me again.
That's the fun of it, though. You get to play in that world and get lost in it and enjoy it. And we want things that we can enjoy. It's like, look at the movies that are out right now. Do you really want to collect or be in that world or with those people? They're making such negative and doomsday kind of movies that it would be nice to have a balance to it.
Right.
And have the message be, this is supposed to be fun and positive and human. And these are the universal stories that we tell each other, that you learn something about life, or you feel like you went somewhere, or you forgot your problems. Honestly, that's all the kind of movies I've ever wanted to make. And this is the first one where I've had a real opportunity to do it. And we built this incredible team with Lucinda Bruce and Vernon and Mike and Alan Dean Foster and all the people involved in this. Joe Kramer, music, he did Ghost Protocol and great soundtracks. All these people get it. they're on board. They understand the vision that I have in my head about it, and we all just want to make a good movie we can all enjoy.
Jesse Guajardo's even getting so far. Oh no! It was. I'm sorry. It was Stardate Trivia said if you guys thought about video games and Jesse saying Legos. It's like, you know what? Those have got to be things that have crossed your
maybe
minds.
you can answer this question.
Okay.
Curtis says, I'm new to this. There's a link that's sent to me. Do I click it? Share that? How does that work?
There is a link it sent me. You mean from the Indiegogo? Yeah. So if you go to the Indiegogo page, there is let me take a look.
Yeah, there's like a Facebook icon and a X icon.
Yeah. So right under where it says, options and follow and whatnot, there's a Facebook. It's not the X, it's the little birdie, and there's the link. You can grab that link and share it on wherever you want to. But yeah, you can share it out on all of the socials.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's exactly the way to go. But yeah. That's that is great. That is and this might be a question you might not be able to answer, but you can at least say you don't know yet. But how long does a project like this take once you start filming?
We can answer that.
Yeah, we can answer that. Well, once you start filming, like obviously different films take different amounts of time to film, so it really does come down to the elements and what's involved. And you could be filming something for 3 weeks, or you could be filming it for 8 weeks or more. I mean, some films back 10, 15 years ago took a lot longer. You'd be shooting for 3 months or 6 months even, potentially. But nowadays, because of technology, it's a little bit quicker and things move a little bit faster, and you can do more with less. So, which really kind of helps the argument of like, why are we spending $180 million on films when we really don't need to?
Right.
So because everything's sort of a little bit more accessible now for filmmaking, but this particular one probably, I mean, most films you're looking at 6 to 12 months from when you sort of start filming to when you can. But if they're heavy on VFX or heavy on post, that could take longer, 12 to 18 months. It just depends. I like to, generally when I make movies, I like to have the editor on set or at least close by, processing the footage and putting the dailies together every day, which is kind of standard anyway, but so that we can see everything that's been filmed that day, make sure we got it all in the can, and then they can pretty much start editing as soon as they've got enough footage to start editing with. So I like to keep it as short as possible, and you want to kind of get a good turnaround for your investors as well. You want to focus
time is money, right?
Time is money.
That's right.
You
want to make them money. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to make them money, and you want to get the film out there for people to see, but you also want to make sure you're doing it properly, that the final result is very quality driven, and you don't rush it, because you rush things. I mean, especially in film, like it can be quite expensive when you make mistakes and you have to reshoot something completely, or you have to re-edit the film, or things like that happen more than I think people are aware. So,
or the actors get the giggles and
well,
they just can't get over
exactly.
They get the giggles, or they get charged in a court of law, and then you have to recast the whole film.
Yeah. And well, and that actually underlines another thing that I am encouraged by, and that's hearing the people behind a film project saying you got to get it right up front, or it costs money, as opposed to what I'm seeing in so much of Hollywood. Oh, let's spend the money to make 3 movies, and then we'll decide later in post, what we're actually going to do. And it's like,
one of my
no wonder you're not making any profit.
Yeah.
One of my pet peeves is when people say, "Well, fix it in post." It's like, no, fix it in pre. Fix it in, that's my.
If you have to fix it in post, you already failed somewhere along the way.
Okay.
You know?
Answer Samuel Proctor's question, sweetie.
So when will the Indiegogo be locked and over? Because I think I will be able to pay for a higher perk in a few weeks. Yeah, you want to speak to that one? I know the answer.
It won't. Yeah, it's
It
open.
won't.
It's in demand, so it's going to stay up and on Indiegogo now for sort of, I guess, impermanently. I mean,
As long as people are contributing, it doesn't go dormant.
Yeah, that's right.
You can jump in at any point, even while we're filming, and be part of it.
Because technically,
the
original date. I actually don't even remember what the original goal date was.
16th, I think it was August, something like that.
October 13th, something like that.
Oh, was it 13th of October?
Yeah.
Close.
Oh, it says 100. October 14, 2023 was the original.
Yeah,
but it's continuing and it's going to continue on.
And that's a date that Indiegogo, that kind of, you got to have a goal to start with, right?
Right.
And by hitting that original goal, it says, like you were saying, you can go and then say, look, we're serious about this, but the money is still coming in, and it'll keep coming in until I guess until you start filming, and
exactly,
it's
and
in the can.
Down. The idea of a goal is always good, because I'm the same way. I'll be like, I'll get to it next month, or I'll do it. But if you have a hard goal, it's like you make a decision and you do it. Even if you're well intentioned and you want to do it, if there's no time that it's there, it gets put off. So they impose a goal, like they ask you when you start, how many days do you want to do it? And so we tried to find a sweet spot of like, well, if we made this much, it would be constructive and we could get this going, and if we make that amount, it stays open.
So bottom line, guys, if you're waiting for payday, that's perfectly fair. Go ahead and budget for it and then make it happen, because we want to make it happen, right?
Yeah.
Right. So it will be staying up for a while.
Yeah.
So,
And we love people sharing it, because you never know who you've got in your circle and who can afford what. And it's quite amazing where some of the investors come from when you do find them, when you can reach them. But they're dentists, or they're accountants, or they're everyday people.
Right.
They love movies.
Movies and want to see things get made. So talk to your local accountant or your local dentist.
So,
and one other thing I want to mention: you don't have to pick just one perk.
You
Troy and I
can
picked
perks.
4. We have like 4 different perks that we selected. So we actually paid for 4 different perks. So you don't have to just do one and that's it. You can do whatever ones you want.
Exactly.
Right. Whatever interests you.
So, Tom, when you were talking about the voice work that you were doing for Star Wars, you mentioned something about having done it during the strike.
Yeah.
And that is something that I think a lot of people, obviously in the industry, it affects your life directly. I think from a fan point of view, I even had you on to talk about the strike when it was happening from your perspective, because I feel like us normies, we don't always know how it impacts. We kind of think we do, but I don't think we always do. Is that another upside to filming in Australia? Because we're looking at Hollywood, and we're looking at an August 1st date that could be a challenge coming up.
Yeah.
Is that going to affect you too if in Australia? No.
There is some small knock-on effects occasionally, like when all 3 strikes were kind of happening, and there were, everybody was sort of negotiating. There were long knock-on effects like that, but mainly because they were American shows filming in there that was SAG compliant. But so it was kind of a little bit difficult, because it was actually the writers' strike that caused quite a lot of American shows to stop filming.
Right.
Not the actors' strike and not the directors' strike, but basically we are under, I'm trying to remember, it's the Global 1 rule or something in Australia.
Global Rule 1, yeah.
Yeah, and we're compliant with any SAG-AFTRA rules and guidelines when we use our local union, which is the MEAA. And the MEAA sort of work with actors and crew to make sure they get paid a fair wage. So by going under MEAA, you're automatically agreeing to whatever conditions the SAG or DGA or the WGA are asking for. Mainly the SAG, because SAG is the only union that actually affects worldwide.
Gotcha.
So none of the other
We're
unions
using SAG
really,
actors.
but
Yeah.
because they were using WGA writers on that show, they had to
Gotcha.
cancel. So if they were using local Australian writers and local directors and using SAG actors, it still wouldn't have mattered. They could have gone ahead and filmed, as far as I'm aware. There's multiple benefits to shooting in Australia. I mean, we have very good crew, a lot of talent, but as much as what we've got here, really. What it means to be a producer. Yes.
Yeah, that's actually a great question. We touched on this a little bit when you were on with us last year, but
yeah, I mean,
general psychologist, bartender.
Yeah,
bartender, talking my language.
You're all sorts of things when you're a producer, but you're finding all the pieces of the puzzle that fit and putting them in the right spot. I think that's one of the easiest ways to explain it. But essentially, it depends. There are different types of producers. There are different roles and responsibilities for different producers. You've got line producers, executive producers, associate, consulting producers, and then within those, environments, there's still further breakdowns that you can do. So there can be a creative producer, or purely somebody who just does the paperwork, or someone who's or a production manager that's just running the set kind of thing. So there are very different elements to different things that you can do as a producer. For me personally, I like to think of myself as a bit of a chameleon. I can fit into a project where it needs me to fit into. So I can be a creative producer, I can be a line producer, I can be a consulting producer, depending on what that project needs. And generally, though, I prefer to be a lead producer and running the project, just because it's more fun and I get to tell everybody what to do.
It sounds like, oh yeah,
She's mom. Hi, mom.
mom, yeah.
I have been called set mum quite a lot in my career so far, just because I do like to take care of my crew and my actors, and everybody's important.
It's nurturing.
It is. Everybody's important. You know, the PA is just as important as my lead actor, because they all form cogs in the wheel of what the film industry is. And without any one of them, it's hard to make a movie. Of course, there are some that are slightly easier to kind of go, well, we don't have a PA. It's very hard sometimes when you don't have a PA. I've been on shoots where I don't have production assistants, that is PA.
Yeah.
And they are gophers. They're amazing. These are some of these people that are doing PA work they're so passionate about filmmaking. They're just there, and they'll do it, and they'll do whatever needs to be done. They'll run around. They get paid for it, of course, hopefully.
It's a great way,
yeah, absolutely. And they're just as important.
Wait, you're getting paid?
Yeah. I'm not getting paid. They are. But it's an interesting career, and I fell into it. Of course, I didn't really know what a producer was for the longest time, and I think there's still a lot of mystery around it. Yes, they are definitely the unsung heroes of the industry, and they get treated very poorly, which is terrible. So, but not on my sets. I'd like to think that on my sets, everybody has a good time. They enjoy, they learn, they can grow from it. If they make mistakes, I don't like people being yelled at. I don't think that really helps anybody to learn from the mistakes they've made. It's an opportunity to help people gain experience. Not everybody wants to PA for their whole lives. They want to learn other parts of the industry. So I tend to find those people and go, okay, so you want to know what being an assistant director is like. So then we kind of look at fitting them into there on the next film and trying to help them kind of advance their career.
Yeah, and Lucinda's the kind of producer, I have to say, she's unique, and one of the reasons I've sort of latched onto her and partnered with her is she understands that ultimately the job is about protecting the vision and getting it. And protecting it means that you insulate me, and oftentimes you're like, don't worry, Tom, we'll tell this person they're wrong, and I agree with you, but you find a nice way to say it. but also sharing the vision. I may tell the story directing it to 3 actors, but you're also telling the story in that how you make those pieces come together, where you're like, I know that you need this particular background or this location, or this is the best crew for this, or this is the best location. That's telling the story too. And so a really good dynamic between a director and a producer is one where, say, she believes in my abilities, challenges me with money or challenges me with ways to solve problems. It's not about saying yes to it. It's saying yes when it's right, and yes and when there's not quite a way to do it the way that we might have thought. It's finding those solutions and protecting the vision, but also believing in the vision. The best producers aren't doing it for the money. No one ever did anything great just for the money. A producer does it because it's like, you know what, I'd love to see this. There's got to be a way we can come up with it. And so her skill set is one where there's been many times where I'm like, can you help me with this? And just, can we sit and go through this budget and do it? And she knows, crew rates or things like that, that as a director, I'm thinking about other things, but she protects me by going, I'll make sure that there's enough things for you to be able to do that. Not more than you need, but enough. And so if someone wants to produce a movie, they need to be several things. They need to be the cheerleader of the project, but also the realist of the project. And you have to say, yes, I think that's a great idea, and you have to do it for $10. And that's what real movie making is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I do. And I think it's so important because you have to really love making films, I think, to be a producer. And I know that there's this misnomer out there of producers that make all the money and, that they're the ones that at the end of the day take home all the money and everybody else gets screwed over. I haven't been paid in the last 10 years for almost any of the films that I've made because I've always wanted to put that money back into production. And for me, it's more important that the people who are PAing, because you get back end points as a producer, you get to sort of, hopefully you've done your job well enough that the film gets out there and gets seen, and you can make your money on the back end that way. Of course, everybody deserves to get paid, including me. But when you're dealing with indie films, not a lot of people have that kind of money. You want to help nurture the vision and get it made, and sometimes that means you're putting a lot of time and effort in without any reward, and I think that's missed a lot. I think there's the high-end producers that are seen making all the money, but then there's that's like 5% of the industry, and then there's 95% of producers that are just out there trying to get films seen, get them made, maybe get a little bit of payment, maybe get a little bit of the back end that a lot of people don't see. But generally, when it comes to the waterfall and you're talking about independent films and maybe some of the crews worked for free and the producers working for free, and then a lot of people say, well, I'm working for free, the producer's not paying us. The waterfall will usually mean that everybody gets paid before the producer ever sees a dollar. That's how I do it anyway, and I'd like to think that's how other indie producers do it, but probably I don't. I can't comment on them. Yeah. But yelling, no, I just noticed a comment before, someone saying that some people need to be yelled at. No, they just need to be fired. If you're having to yell at someone, then obviously they're either not listening to you when you talk to them normally, which means they're not taking on board your feedback. So generally, I either find a different position for them, and I have had to do this before, or you.
Well, I think that one thing that Sashi's saying, I think, goes along exactly with what you're saying is, if they respond well to that visibly disappointed look, okay, that's probably someone that is in your camp that you can work with. They don't need to be yelled at. You're right. If that's not enough, if that passion isn't there, then
that's right.
The pay or lack thereof is not the issue. We need to be pulling together as a team, or this ain't gonna work.
A good manager will sort of spot the people that are going to excel and are passionate, and that doesn't necessarily mean working for free and working for 14 hours a day. It's just the people who turn up, show up, put their 100% in, and turn up the next day and do it all over again.
Exactly. Gosh, I'm so excited about this. Is there anything that we missed that we didn't cover that we want to let everybody know about before we start wrapping up for the night?
No, this was a fantastic talk. I'm so glad that Netta reached out, and you're here, Troy.
I'm so glad we got some more people contributing tonight. That was awesome.
Yes, that's wonderful, and that's what this is all about. Is hey, we're here. We don't have a lot of resources to advertise right now, so these shows are invaluable. We've covered everything. It's open. Take a look at it. If you find that it has merit and you think you might want to see the movie, we're able to make this movie given the resources that we have. We can work with limited to make much from very little, because that's been how we work independently, and that is an asset. We're not the Hollywood system. We're not the kind of producers who like the deal is everything and what percentages we can get and putting it together. That's a different breed of person. That's who's sort of running a system, the studios, etc. We're making genre, old school movies for people like us.
Yeah.
And we need those resources to make this movie, because I think this story is worth telling, and I think that all of us together can do something positive rather than just complain about what's clearly the train wreck happening in slow motion that we've all talked about. Netter articulated it really well as well, where she's like, we just want to be fans of our own stuff and create our own stuff.
Exactly.
And so I really am grateful for being on here, and check out the stuff and check out Mindstream and the Flash Gordon stuff on my YouTube.
Definitely
Real Deal with Tom Konkle.
It's on all the podcast sites too.
Yeah.
It's on Audible and Apple and Spotify and all that stuff. And I do those for fun,
And of course, I'm going to have you back again,
Absolutely.
a couple months. Yeah, another update, see where we're at, see what's going on. And of course, Lucinda, if you can make it, I'd love to have you. It's like you gave such valuable information.
I think Trey was getting really excited. Trey from Max
he has
World
another
Entertainment.
question, if you wouldn't mind answering
Totally
it.
up his,
So here's his other question. Please talk about a typical workday week at the studio. How long are the days, hours put in? How many people are on set at a time? Tell us about the different cogs, please.
Wow, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a variable answer, unfortunately. So, I work from home most of the time, so I can put in any hours I want. I'm working as
and you're
part
time
of my
shifting.
business. And I'm time shift, so I travel between LA and Australia quite a bit, and I think it's kind of interesting. The days, I'm so passionate about making movies. It's all I ever really want to do with my life. It's my dream to kind of do this sort of stuff, and I think so. For me, it's very easy to put in long days, or and I'm a bit of a night owl, so I tend to stay up late. So I prefer to work early morning hours and things like that. At the moment, I'm at a studio. I'm very lucky while I'm here in LA. I've got huge support from Screen Victoria and Australians in Film while I'm here in LA to use the studio space that they have at the Lot Studios, which is awesome. It's 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, and I'm loving this. I'd rather be here talking about film and talking about what we're doing than anything else. So, it's I'm here on my own. There's nobody else here in the studio space, so it's kind of cool. But yeah, definitely. It varies in terms of people on set. I've run sets that have had 130 or 40 people on it at any given time, right down to 5. It just depends on what the set needs and what what's going on the day. It really, it's why everybody kind of says, well, films are films. You make a movie, it's always the same. Definitely, there are some elements that never change, but every film is so unique in how you put it together. There's no one way of going from A to Z and making a film. There's always going to be the same challenges or the same, problems along the way. And a lot of people kind of confuse having money to make a film with it being easier. I say it's just quicker, because having money means you can just make things happen more quickly, but I still think you come across the same issues and you've still got the same amount of work to do as you did if you didn't have any money. So I think it's such a variable that it's hard, because some people might put in their 8 hours a day as a producer and that's it. They go home, they switch off, they have a family, they have other things they've got to do, whereas this is my whole life. So I never switch off. I'm always working. I'm always thinking about how am I going to fund this film? What are the ways that I can find to make things happen for this film? And when I go home, I head back. I'm here for about 6 weeks, and when I go home, I go straight into pre-production on another film that we just got some financing for. So, I've had meetings today, for instance. It's been meeting after meeting, and I've been working on breaking down some elements of the script. There's all sorts of different things that I do throughout the day. That it's good because I love having lots of things to focus on. I can't just be focusing on one thing all the time. So I couldn't work. I'm always in awe of people that work day jobs where they just do the same thing for 8 hours. I bow down to that willpower of staying in that job. I have to have several things going on. I'm as a producer, you have to have lots of irons in the fire. Not just one film. Otherwise, you'd go a bit crazy, I think.
So how many projects do you typically have going on at once?
Right now, I have over 30. I have over 30 projects.
30?
Wow.
You've been holding out on me. Wait a minute. 30. I was the only one.
I think there's
Four
only.
Of them are with me.
Yeah, that's right. 4 of them.
That's true.
So there's probably about 8 of them that are developed, well written, packaged, have elements attached. Are looking at potentially moving forward in the next 12 to 24 months. Then there's 3, this one, and 2 others that are very close to going. There's attachments, there's money, there's distribution, there's all sorts of elements already going and in place. And even though you feel like you're on the precipice and things are moving forward, it's still a waiting game. You still have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing through it. So it's easy because the other, 20 odd projects that are in on the slate, they're all at different stages. So they're still being written, they're being packaged still. There's different, they don't require the same amount of time input as say Island in the Stars does, or the other 2 projects that I'm working on, like the other one I mentioned at the start, which is Oswald Down the Rabbit Hole, which has Ernie Hudson attached to it, which is really moving forward at the moment. And the feature film Back Home, which just got the producers offset back home on through Screen Australia, and has a lot of support through Screen Australia and Film Vic and everybody. So you kind of manage it, and you hope that they all kind of get the financing in place, but you're always constantly working on something and massaging something along and trying to get things going and put into place.
I just wanted to throw this out there real quick, Trey, if you're still in the chat there. And if you haven't taken a look at the Indiegogo, take a look at it. You sound like you're, and I know your interests. There's a couple perks there. There's there's a producing seminar, there's a screenwriting seminar, a VFX seminar. I think those would be right in your wheelhouse. You might want to take a look at those and just, maybe say to your wife, hey, I got a birthday coming up, and I'd really, really appreciate, this opportunity. Just, check it out.
It's a very customized deep dive. You can ask those questions. You can say, hey, I have this book that I've always wanted to turn into something or do it. We will address it. It's not just talking at you. It's a conversation. So, I really have nothing more to add. Lucinda's answer was great. I just want to say that I have found over the last 25 years or so, it's like you have this intense bonding when you begin the process, and pre-planning and pre-production is where you visualize it. When you go on a set, even if it's like as an actor and you guest, you become this intense little group and family, and you all act like you're going to see each other the next day, even if you're never ever going to see them again. There's hugging and all these things. It's a very unique way of working. Like, they welcomed me on this last show I was on. I had a part, a guest star type part on it, but the leads, talking to me in the chair, and we become buddies over this thing. You bond in these intense little snapshot moments, and those carry forward, and you'll work with those people again, 10 years later, or the next day you'll run into someone on something else, because it's a big world, but it's a small world at the same time. You run into the quality people and the bad people equally over and over and over again, and how you treat them and how they treat you is really just, it's up to you what you tolerate. And you know, how many people are on a set? How much is a bag of groceries? You know, sometimes I've been on a set where I'm shooting and directing, and there's 2 other people. With something like Trouble, I had upwards of 60 people, you know, just in the crew, not counting the cast. And you're interfacing with department heads that only care about their section. So it's like, costumes care about costumes. The lighting people care about lighting, and you have to realize they are caring about it because they want it to be good, and you have to shift over to their needs. You know, it's like, well, this dress is perfect for it. And it's like, no, I'm worried about the lights. No, you know what? The dress means everything to them because that's their work, and that tells the story for them. And makeup and hair are the same way. You've got to treat everyone. Everyone is coming at it from their unique, specialized area, all to tell the story as seamlessly as possible.
I think that's absolutely key. I think that I think we all understand this on an instinctual level, but Netter and I doing the cosplay that we have, we and being involved in smaller productions, we know sometimes a little detail in a costume tells a story in and of itself if you're paying attention, if you know it's there.
Yes. And Netter, you'll know this because you've seen the movie. In Trouble Is My Business, even a prop tells you everything. If you watch that movie, there's a globe in that movie.
Yep.
And the globe appears in different scenes and shows the internal world that he's in. When she walks in, he turns the world upside down. The globe is upside down. When she is taking him over, she spins the globe and mixes it up and takes you back through time by literally spinning the globe. And the globe, when she's escaping at the end of the movie, the globe is front and center there. And you can see on the map where she's going in the story is visible on the globe. So the globe's at the beginning of the movie, in the middle of the movie, and it's just there. I went to Universal and on the lot, and I picked a globe from the 1940s, and I said, how does this globe help tell the story? Well, it's upside down because his world's touched upside down. Then she's spinning the globe because she's talking about travel. Then when she's going to escape, it means this is that other place I'm going to go to get away from everything. Now, you could just say, well, you threw a globe in there. It's like, no, he didn't. I put that globe there for a specific reason, to do a specific thing. Every piece of clothing is there for a reason. Everything in that frame is there to tell the story. There isn't a good filmmaker doesn't do anything for no reason. Yeah.
And in the productions that I was in, when I would add something to something that would never be seen, I would have, you know, the direct. No one's even gonna say, I know it's there.
Yeah, I know.
And it directly impacts how I, you know, am portraying this character, and who knows what could come up later on in the story. So, you know,
exactly.
So absolutely.
Yeah,
I
it's
get
planting
you.
little seeds. Yeah.
Okay. So this, I think our regulars, our Thursday regulars know that when we go past 1 hour, it's because we have incredible guests that we don't want to let go. But we also do need to be sensitive to their time, especially with all the things we were just talking about regarding their time. So
well, it's still early for them.
Well, yeah, over there on that left coast there, sure, it's still early, but they got to eat too. You know? So I don't want to go through what we got going on in the week because I don't want to keep them. I'll just mention tomorrow night on my channel, Last Call, come have drinks. We're going to have a great chat about the summer movies, and so forth. Speaking of summer movies, Saturday on Big Al's, we'll be watching Midnight Madness. Midnight Madness. Looking forward to that. And right after we leave here, guys, get over to Deleted Scenes channel. He'll fill in the details for the rest of the weekend.
And keep in mind, I'm going to be giving away Trouble Is My Business.
Keep an eye on Netter for that.
This is a signed copy from Tom Konkle. And I need something to be giving it away. So give me your suggestions. You can
An
DM
event,
me on Twitter.
a theme, whatever. Let us
it's
know.
like something, a trivia contest, something. Give me an idea of what it's going to be, and for that particular show.
There you go.
I will pick a winner for this.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's actually really good.
best
Well, we have
1940s costume.
Right.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, or it would be interesting to have people list their top 3 film noirs that they love,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and then maybe you look at the list, and whoever has two of the most picked ones gets a copy of the disc. So,
Oh,
for
there you
example,
go.
if someone comes up with your list and you compile that list, and it's like, this one shows up, Out of the Past shows up, or Maltese Falcon, maybe you could say the person who gets the closest to that top list gets a copy of it, because the disc is a love letter to those movies.
Yes.
And
I like
here's
that.
the topper. Try and pick your favorite ones that were influences on Trouble Is My Business, and Netter will ask me if they were a direct influence, and I'll tell you what scene was influenced by that original movie.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go.
Because there's a
So-
lot of trivia in that movie.
So maybe we do the giveaway the next time we have Tom on. When we
Maybe.
do a follow-up on this, which
Yeah.
we absolutely will.
That would be fun.
Any last words? Anything that we didn't cover? We got. I am so pleased with how much we got in tonight. But did I miss anything that you want
Not
to let
at all.
everyone know? Okay.
I just want to say thank you. We're grateful for you. We're grateful for everybody here. I hope this video goes out and people that don't happen to be here tonight see this. Take
Yeah.
a look at the
Absolutely.
page. You have a link here, and we'd love to hear from you. It's Island Star Movie is the X Twitter
Yep.
handle. Send us a thing if you decided to jump on board, or if you enjoyed this interview. Tell people about their channel and pass this on and share it as much as possible.
Absolutely.
And that's all I got, Nana.
Listen, anything else you want to add?
No, it's just Tom said it perfectly. So thank you so much to everybody,
Thank
and thank you for having us and letting me talk about stuff that I love.
Well, that's the best kind of conversation to have.
Absolutely. By the way, Samuel's on a very good track there with multi.
Yeah, he's excited.
He's actually
Hold on to those until
Yes.
until the next time we have time on.
Getting
Absolutely.
close. That's a hint. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
I know a
pleasure.
couple
Thanks
of
for
you
having
have
us.
a couple of you have stated that you have donated tonight. Thank you so much for that. Like I said, even if you do the lowest tier, it helps.
Absolutely.
Of course, we would prefer to have the higher tiers covered, but you do what you can do. Share it out. Let's see what we can do to raise even more money.
Because we know
get missions
Nelson
to take care of.
Peltz watches this channel, so Nelson, maybe.
Jump in here. Come on. He's flush with cash right now.
I know you just made yourself $1 billion. Come on, man.
Yeah, this is chump change. Yeah.
A little hint: we might be talking about that on Geeky Geeses
Yes.
on Sundays. Just saying.
So thank you again, all of my chat, for being here. Thank you for my lovely guests. And of course, you know how I always close up my streams. We can talk amongst ourselves, and that's all well, good, and fun. But it is so much more fun when you guys are joining us in the chat, and you're dropping your comments, questions, trivia, being goofy, whatever it may be. And it doesn't feel like we're separated by miles or continents in some cases. Hi, Sashi.
Hey, Saji.
It feels like we're all hanging out in the same room, enjoying each other's company and having a great time. And you guys, you know you're not just our friends. You are our family. We love you guys, and we appreciate you so very much. You can be anywhere right now, and you're here. And you're encouraging us so much by being here. So thank you for that. Thank you for always being in our streams, encouraging us, encouraging one another. We couldn't do this without you. I mean, we could, like I said, but it wouldn't be as much fun.
True.
You guys make this so much more fun to do. So thank you for encouraging me and Troy. Thank you for encouraging Lucinda and Tom. Said share out that that link for Island in the Stars. If you can donate, that's wonderful. If you have to wait till payday, that's fine. It's going to be up for a while.
Share it out.
Share it out, exactly. And until next time, good night.